I need you to listen very carefully to what I am about to say. Because if you are over 60 years old and you are skipping this one thing every single night before bed, you are letting your eyes slowly break down in the dark without even knowing it. A study published by Johns Hopkins University in 2022 sent shockwaves through the eye care community. They followed more than 4,800 Americans over the age of 60 for 18 months and found that people whose evening diet was missing a specific group of nutrients had up to 38% higher risk of developing macular degeneration compared to those who got enough. 38%. That is not a small number. That is the difference between being able to see your grandchildren's faces clearly and not being able to. You might be thinking that fading vision is just a normal part of getting older, that your doctor will write you a new prescription and everything will be fine. But here is the truth that most people never get a chance to hear explained clearly. Your eyes work the hardest, recover the most, and are the most vulnerable at night while you sleep. And most of us are going to bed every single night with eyes that are completely underfueled and unable to repair themselves. The craziest part of this whole story is that there is one very ordinary, very common fruit you can find at literally any grocery store in America, and it contains exactly the compounds your eyes are craving at night. But almost nobody eats it at the right time. Today, I am going to tell you what that fruit is, why you should eat it before bed, and more importantly, I am going to walk you through 3 fruits that look healthy but are actually ones you should avoid at night if you are dealing with any kind of eye trouble. Stay with me, because that third part is going to surprise a lot of people. Part 1. What your eyes are actually doing while you sleep. Before we get to that fruit, I want you to understand something important. Most people assume the eyes are resting when you close them and go to sleep. That sounds reasonable, but it is not entirely true. When you enter deep sleep, especially the stage scientists call REM sleep, your brain kicks off a very special cleaning process. Your central nervous system activates what I like to describe as a sanitation crew that travels through your neural pathways and sweeps away the waste that has been building up all day long. This is extremely important for your vision because the optic nerve, the pathway that carries visual signals from your eye up to your brain, sits right in the middle of the zone where this cleanup happens most intensely. If that process does not go smoothly, the waste that builds up around the optic nerve starts to interfere with those visual signals, and over time, your eyesight becomes blurrier and blurrier in the most literal sense of the word. And that is just one piece of it. While you sleep, the retina at the back of your eye, that thin, light-sensitive layer of tissue, is also doing its own repair work. The photoreceptor cells, the ones responsible for helping you see colors and low-level light, are trying to fix the wear and tear from a full day of use. To do that job, they need oxygen, they need good circulation, and most importantly, they need a very specific set of nutrients. The problem is that if you do not give your body those nutrients before bed, then for those 7 or 8 hours of sleep, your eyes are essentially running on empty. It is like trying to charge your phone without plugging it into the wall. The machine keeps running, but the battery drains a little more with every single night. Part 2. What is rhodopsin and why it matters to you? Now, I want to talk about something that most people have never heard of, and once I explain it, you will immediately understand why the fruit I am about to introduce matters so much. Inside your eye, there is a pigment called rhodopsin. The easiest way to picture it is like a tiny battery sitting inside each individual photoreceptor cell of your retina. Rhodopsin is what allows you to see in low light conditions, at dusk, inside a dark movie theater, or when you get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom without turning on the lights. When light hits your eye, rhodopsin breaks down to create the nerve signal that gets sent up to your brain. And then in the darkness, your body has to rebuild that rhodopsin from scratch. This is a continuous cycle, and it relies on vitamin A as its primary fuel. As you get older, your body becomes significantly less efficient at absorbing and converting vitamin A. That means rhodopsin gets rebuilt more slowly and in smaller amounts. You start to notice more difficulty seeing at night. Your eyes take longer to adjust when moving from a bright area into a dark one. So many people over 60 tell me they dread driving at night because oncoming headlights blind them for what feels like a very long time. That is exactly what it looks like when rhodopsin is not being regenerated fast enough. And the fruit I am about to introduce to you contains an exceptionally high level of beta-carotene, the compound your body converts directly into vitamin A, which is the exact raw material rhodopsin needs most. Part 3. Introducing the fruit. And that fruit is papaya. Now, I know some of you are thinking, oh, papaya, I was expecting something more exotic. But hear me out, because there is a very specific reason why papaya stands apart from other fruits when it comes to eye health, and especially when it comes to eating it at night. A study conducted by the University of Stuttgart-Hohenheim in Germany, published in an international nutrition science journal, directly compared how well the body absorbs beta-carotene from 3 common food sources: carrots, tomatoes, and papaya. The results showed that beta-carotene from papaya is absorbed by the body up to 3 times more efficiently than from carrots and tomatoes. 3 times. That means eating a single serving of papaya, about 8 ounces, is delivering far more raw material to your eyes than the same amount from carrots. And the reason for this comes down to the cell structure of papaya being softer and less fibrous, which allows those compounds to be released and absorbed into the bloodstream much more easily than from harder vegetables. But beta-carotene is only part of the story. Papaya also contains lutein and zeaxanthin, 2 nutrients that many scientists refer to as the natural sunglasses built into your retina. They concentrate right at the macula, which is the very center of your retina, the zone responsible for your sharpest, most detailed vision. When you look at someone's face, when you read a line of text, when you recognize a familiar person from across the room, that is your macula doing the work. Lutein and zeaxanthin act as a filter against harmful blue light while also fighting the oxidative damage that erodes your eye cells a little more each day. Data from a long-term tracking study coordinated by the National Eye Institute showed that people with higher blood levels of lutein and zeaxanthin had up to 26% lower risk of developing macular degeneration. Part 4. Why eating papaya before bed is especially powerful. Now you might be asking, why nighttime specifically? Why not morning or afternoon? This is the part I find most fascinating, and it is something very few people know about. There is something I call the midnight fruit effect, and it has to do with how your body distributes nutrients during sleep. When you eat about 45 minutes to an hour before going to bed, the nutrients from that food start absorbing into your bloodstream right during the early hours of sleep. This is exactly the window when blood flow to the optic nerve and the retina actually increases, because your body no longer has to split its energy between movement, digestion, and all the other demands of an active day. Your entire circulatory system can now focus more on feeding the internal organs, including your eyes. So those nutrients you put in from papaya, the beta-carotene, the lutein, the zeaxanthin, the vitamin C, the vitamin E, all of it is traveling straight to where it is needed most at exactly the moment your body needs it most. That is a perfect combination that the majority of Americans are missing every single night. On top of that, papaya contains a special enzyme called papain. Papain has natural anti-inflammatory properties, and this matters because low-grade chronic inflammation is one of the most silent and most destructive forces behind age-related eye disease in older adults. When the tissue behind your retina is inflamed, even at a level so small you cannot feel any pain, it is still interfering with the nourishment and regeneration of your eye cells. Papain helps calm that process, creating better conditions for your eyes to repair themselves while you sleep. Part 5. Papaya and eye pressure. There is another side of eye health that almost no video ever talks about, and that is the pressure inside the eyeball itself. For people over 60, especially if you have ever heard your eye doctor mention glaucoma or elevated intraocular pressure, this is something you genuinely need to pay attention to. Eye pressure, meaning the force inside your eye, can slowly damage the optic nerve over time if it gets too high. And just like high blood pressure, it usually happens silently, without pain, without any obvious warning signs, until the damage is already done. Nutrition can play a real role in supporting healthy eye pressure levels. Vitamin C is one of the nutrients that has received the most attention in this area, and papaya is one of the most vitamin C-rich fruits you can find anywhere in America. A single 8-ounce serving of papaya can deliver over 100% of the vitamin C your body needs in a full day. Vitamin C is not just an antioxidant. It also plays a direct role in maintaining the collagen structure of the eye, the outer coating of the eyeball itself, and that is directly connected to how pressure inside the eye gets regulated. So when you eat papaya in the evening, you are not just feeding your retina, you are also giving your body the tools to maintain healthy eye pressure naturally throughout the night. Part 6. How to eat papaya for the best results. All right, so how much should you eat and how should you eat it? I will keep this as straightforward as possible. A solid serving is about 1 cup of ripe papaya, which is roughly 8 ounces, eaten about 45 minutes to 1 hour before bed. You do not need to eat a huge amount. You do not need to add anything fancy to it. Simple is perfectly fine. But there is one small tip I want to share with you, and this is something the research from the University of Stuttgart-Hohenheim also confirmed. Beta-carotene, lutein, and zeaxanthin are all fat-soluble nutrients. That means your body absorbs them significantly better when there is a small amount of healthy fat present at the same time. You can eat your papaya alongside a few slices of avocado, or a small spoonful of full-fat Greek yogurt, or even just a small handful of walnuts. That small combination genuinely makes a meaningful difference in how much of those nutrients your eyes actually receive. Also, always choose fully ripe papaya, deep orange on the inside, not green or underripe. The riper the papaya, the higher the beta-carotene content and the softer the cell structure, which makes it easier for your body to absorb everything it needs. You can find papaya at most major grocery stores or at Asian markets across the country. The price is usually very reasonable and the quality at Asian markets tends to be excellent. Part 7. The connection between deep sleep and your vision. I want to spend a moment on the relationship between sleep quality and the state of your eyesight, because this is something a lot of people genuinely do not connect. It is not a coincidence that after a poor night of sleep, your vision feels blurrier, your eyes feel drier, and they tire out faster than usual. That happens because the neural cleanup process I mentioned at the start of this video only fully takes place during deep sleep. If your sleep is shallow, if you are waking up multiple times during the night, or if you are only getting 5 or 6 hours, that process gets interrupted and the waste material building up around the optic nerve simply does not get cleared away. Over time, that contributes to a gradual decline in the quality of your visual signals and raises your risk for eye-related conditions. The interesting thing is that papaya can also indirectly support the quality of your sleep. This fruit contains magnesium and certain natural compounds that help calm the nervous system and make it easier to settle into deeper sleep. So it is not a coincidence that papaya turns out to be an ideal bedtime fruit. It is not only delivering nutrients to the eyes, it is also helping create the conditions for those nutrients to be used as effectively as possible while your body is in its deepest state of recovery. Part 8. 3 fruits to avoid at night. Now we have arrived at the part I promised you right at the start, and I think this is the section that will genuinely surprise the most people. There are 3 fruits that many Americans commonly eat in the evening, believing they are making a healthy choice, but that can actually create quiet problems for the eyes, especially if you are dealing with blood sugar instability or chronic dry eye. The first one is grapes. Grapes are a wonderful fruit during the day because they contain resveratrol and a wide range of antioxidants. But grapes also have a very high natural sugar content, and eating them at night before bed can cause your blood sugar to spike right at the moment your body is trying to transition into rest mode. When blood sugar swings sharply at night, the tiny capillaries that feed the retina take the hit along with everything else. For anyone with a history of diabetes or who is in a pre-diabetic state, this is simply not a risk worth taking in the evening. The second one is watermelon. I know that sounds surprising because watermelon seems so light and refreshing. But watermelon has a fairly high glycemic index, and because of its extremely high water content, it tends to increase how often you need to use the bathroom during the night. When you are waking up repeatedly, deep REM sleep gets interrupted over and over again, and as I explained, that is the single most important window for your eyes to recover. So as much as watermelon is delicious, it is not the ideal evening choice. The third one is oranges and citrus fruits in general. This is the one that catches most people completely off guard. Oranges are loaded with vitamin C and they are genuinely good for you. But if you are dealing with chronic dry eye, the acid in oranges and other citrus fruits can trigger a mild inflammatory response in the mucous membranes, including the membrane that coats the surface of your eye. This does not happen immediately and not everyone notices it, but for people who are already relying on eye drops regularly because of dry eye, Eating acidic fruits in the evening can make symptoms noticeably worse the following morning. If you want vitamin C for your eyes at night, papaya is the better choice because it delivers that same vitamin C without the same level of acid and citric irritation. Part 9. Other things you can pair with this. I do not want to wrap up this video with just one fruit because eye health is a bigger picture than that. Papaya is the star of today's conversation, but there are a few other things you can layer in to make an even bigger difference. First, pay attention to staying hydrated throughout the day. Not right before bed, because that will have you up in the bathroom, but during the day, aim for at least 6 to 8 cups of water, 8 ounces each. The tear film, the protective layer that coats the surface of your eye, needs consistent moisture to function properly, and mild chronic dehydration is one of the most common underlying causes of dry eye in older Americans. Second, try to cut screen time at least 30 minutes before bed. The blue light coming from phones and televisions does not just affect your sleep quality. It also stresses your photoreceptor cells right before the moment they need rest and regeneration the most. Research from the Massachusetts Eye and Ear Hospital, affiliated with Harvard University, indicates that high-intensity blue light exposure in the evening can significantly reduce the eye's ability to regenerate rhodopsin that same night. So set the phone down, make yourself a warm cup of tea, have your papaya, and let your body take care of the rest. Third, if you are currently taking any prescribed medications for an eye condition, always check with your eye doctor before making any changes to your diet. What I am sharing today is nutritional knowledge to support eye health, not medical advice that replaces treatment from your doctor. But the good news is that nearly every eye doctor encourages their patients to eat well, and papaya is something almost no one will argue against. We have covered a lot of ground together today, and I hope you now see clearly that eye health is not just something that happens in a doctor's office. It is something that happens at your kitchen table, in the small choices you make every evening before you go to sleep. Your eyes deserve to be taken care of, and they are working hard every single night to protect your vision. Give them what they need. 1 cup of ripe papaya before bed, keep the grapes and watermelon off the evening menu, get enough sleep, and step away from the screen a little earlier. These small things, done consistently, can make a real difference over the years ahead. I do not want you to just watch this video and move on. I want you to actually do this tonight. If this video was helpful to you, please share it with your children, your siblings, your friends, anyone over 60 who is worried about their eyesight, so they can have this information without having to search for it on their own. Hit like so. YouTube recommends this to more people because there are so many older Americans who need to hear this and just do not know where to look. And make sure you subscribe so we can meet again in the next piece of advice, because I have a lot more I want to share with you. Until next time, take good care of yourself.